Welcome to a Saturday edition of Cup of Ray. Hope everybody just had a great Christmas or a Hanukkah, whatever holidays we're celebrating this time of year as we put an end to 2020. Today's the first day of Kwanzaa. Just continuing to get the family together, and I'll tell this story real quick just to start the show off. Of course, I'll start off real fast by saying the Buccaneers are in Detroit today playing against the Detroit Lions. First time in 12 years the Buccaneers have a chance to secure a playoff spot with a victory today. They will definitely give themselves a guaranteed wild card spot. And, I know a lot of y'all joke back and forth with you about this week at, what a Christmas present it would have been had the Saints been able to somehow, or I should say the Vikings, been able to somehow slow that Saints offense down yesterday. But, of course, we see Alvin Kamara sets or ties the NFL record with 6 rushing touchdowns in that game. And the Saints actually quite handily beat the Minnesota Vikings. And it was a stretch anyway, because, of course, next week you have New Orleans Saints playing against the Carolina Panthers in the last game of the season. And, of course, you probably would have needed 2 small Christmas miracles to get those 2 losses. And, of course, the Buccaneers with that victory today will again secure their first playoff spot in 12-year playoffs. 12 years we've been waiting for this, right? So wouldn't that just be the great day after Christmas, little late Christmas present? Get that secured victory today, and then go ahead and let's go end the season next week with a great victory at home at Raymond James Stadium versus the Atlanta Falcons. But I was just telling a story that, that yesterday we were still doing the socially distanced thing like we're all doing here in 2020. And my family, my wife and my 3 kids and our dog are up in Carolina. We saw it like a week and a half ago. We saw the forecast and we got this little cool front, not little cool front, a pretty big cool front that pushed through here. It's actually in the 40s or right about 50 degrees out here. Beautiful day out here on the deck at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, where we'll have our Buccaneers game day watch party as we have had all season, and we'll continue to do so. So if you're in the area and looking for a great thing to do a little day after Christmas, the stores are going to be crazy with the returns and people going out and taking some advantages of some of those after Christmas specials. Come on down to the Deck Bar and Grill, find a nice little socially distant, got areas all around the place, whether it be inside or out, and come down here, enjoy some of the Bucs game today again, as it's the only game on TV when the Bucs play those Detroit Lions at 1:00 today from Ford Field. But was able to do a Zoom meeting last night because I was up with my mom, my uncle, who they've basically been quarantined since March, and was able to bring the family in. Great. My son, Tristan, and my youngest daughter, Rowan, just acted the fool for a good half an hour. Interaction, it was great. We were actually able to have, I would say, almost as good of a Christmas as if we all could have been there together like we usually are on Christmas morning. And the reason why I bring that up at the top of the show is I just want to remind you all, you know how I always end this? Everyone needs to know that someone cares. Today, why don't you be the one to let them know? And just what a great excuse at the holidays. Maybe it's a family member or a friend or just someone you haven't spoke to in a while, and you got that uncomfortable. You don't know how to break the ice. Oh, I haven't called them in so long. I wish I could. Do it at the holidays between now and New Year, or even after the New Year as we get into 2021 and we continue to get victorious over this COVID-19. Take this as a great chance to reach out. We got the video phones, you got FaceTime, you got Zoom meetings, everybody has a computer. Take the moment to reach out and have a little family time, break that ice, and get back to communicating, because, it's been a crazy year. And of course, the NFL, what a crazy year. This is the first time in league history that the NFL has played games on all 7 days of the week. And, as they got through the season, got through this COVID 2020 shuffle, we saw teams get shut down. We see with the Detroit Lions today. Their head coach, Bevel, who is their interim head coach, as well as most of the defensive coaches, are actually in the COVID protocol. They were exposed near somebody who tested positive, so they're all being safely in the protocol to carry it to the rest of the season. Detroit's not going to be in the playoffs, but they're playing the Bucs today, and all the teams, they still have to adhere to these COVID protocols, because we're going to continue to get towards those playoffs, and we don't want to see flare-ups. And just like we're all doing that socially responsible thing here in 2020, maintaining a bit of distance. But again, take this time at the holidays to reach out to those who you maybe haven't spoke to in a while. Kind of excuse me here. I'm going to pull my comments up. I'm going to be doing all the comments today. So let's go ahead and let's start the comments right off at the beginning of the show here. Jeremiah says, "Good morning, everyone. Go Bucs." Yes, go Bucs, Jeremiah. I love it. Christopher O'Reilly says, "We win. We're in. Fire the cannons." Chris, I'm glad you said that. An Irishman too, O'Reilly. Fire those cannons. I do not have that feature on my laptop, but definitely want to hear some cannons firing today. We will have those cannons firing down here at the Deck Bar and Grill for today's watch party. So make sure you join us at 11 at halftime, and definitely the post-game show as we're hopefully celebrating, again, the Bucs getting that first playoff berth in 12 years. Next comment, Frederick Brown says, "Y'all be calm. We got this." Definitely, we got this, right? Christopher O'Reilly says, again, we've social distanced enough from the playoffs. Time to get Isn't that so right though? So we've given it a dozen years. It's been 12 years. And talking back to the Bucks and Lions, let me go ahead and get off of this. I'll get back to the comments in a second. But the history of the Bucks and the Lions, having played in the NFC Central, and of course, again, we've seen that schedule this year, having played Chicago, having handily beaten those Green Bay Packers. Also, we played Minnesota Vikings, and now we played Detroit Lions. But you remember back, it was 19 years since the Bucks had a playoff victory back in 1997 when the Bucks played the Detroit Lions there. The last game, you could call it Houlihan Stadium. I'm going to call it the Big Sombrero, the old Tampa Stadium. That was the last game ever played. And I've told the story how we could see Raymond James going up in the southeast or southwest corner. You could start to see the structure, and all the Bucks fans were all excited. We knew that we were going to the new stadium. And here we are. We get played the Detroit Lions in that wild card game back in 97. Get our first playoff victory in 19 years. And that carried us on. Of course, the next week we play against the Green Bay Packers. But, the history with the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just going back and forth. I've been talking about this, and I'll continue to talk about this because we talk about a structural change or a change of mindset for a team. Detroit Lions do lead the all-time series 31-28. So we're 3 games behind the Detroit Lions, just like we were last week going into that game against the Falcons. We get that victory, and now we're only 2 games behind the Falcons. And, of course, we play them again next week. So we can actually make it 1 game, and we play in the same division now as the Falcons. So we play them twice a year, and we have a chance to make that up. And you see, as a team starts to get as we start to get more and more teams that we can work towards, and it's going to take time. It's like a slow moving tide, but the tide will come in and the tide will come out. But we've got to get these victories, and we have a chance, like against the Detroit Lions, again, because they lead that all-time series 31-28. If we get that victory today, not only do we secure our spot in the playoffs as a wild card berth, but we'd also get 1 more game on them and only be 2 games behind them for the all-time series lead. And that's, of course, this is the minutia. This is the small stuff we're worrying about today, getting that running game going. Matt Stafford, the last 3 games, has been over 100% or, over 100% in quarterback rating. And Detroit has the 4th worst defense against the rush. Of course, the Bucks have the fourth lowest offense with the rush. The Bucks are averaging just over 93 yards per game on the rushing on the ground, and Detroit's giving up on average up about 120, 130 yards per game. So you look at it, something the Bucks can continue to take advantage of. And again, without a Rojo, but getting that running game started, whether we end up going, and we're not going to go week 1 against those Minnesota or against those Green Bay Packers. We're not going to go to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. We may be playing down there in New Orleans at some point. We may play against those Rams, and we're going to have to see how the playoffs shake out the next 2 weeks. All the Buccaneers can control is to get those 2 victories, secure their spot in the wild card playoff, and then continue to see how the other teams finish up the season so we know the order of the dance, right? So we've got the seeding for the playoffs. But the reason why we need to get that running game started again, and I'm going to keep beating that drum, guys, play action pass, pre-snap reads, let Tom Brady do what he does best. And when we're playing against a team that has the fourth worst rushing defense in the NFL on their turf, literally on their turf at Ford Field there in Detroit, let's get that running game going again. Let the run set up the pass or use the pass to set up the run. But let's try to get a balanced offense, because as you get into those playoffs, you're going to need that balanced offense. You're going to need to be able to use the run to set up the pass, use the pass to set up the run. But, and this is where I'll make the point, you guys know, and you guys know this, Buccaneer fans, guys and girls, we all know this, ball control. The way you're going to have a chance to beat those New Orleans Saints, if and when you do face them for the 3rd time this season. We've already saw what happened the first 2 times. There was no ball control offense. You allow Drew Brees to get off, or Taysom Hill when he's filling in for him, or even a Jameis Winston if he ever sees the field. But the way to slow down that Sean Payton offense, it's just the same way we go back to the 80s when you had Bill Walsh and that West Coast style offense, and you had Joe Montana and the boys and Jerry Rice. Every time you faced a team that had that much firepower, you knew that the way to beat that team, at least the way to give yourself a good fighting chance. In the Bucs case, we have a great defense. We want to see that defense get rounded off and get into playoff shape in the next 2 weeks. But the way to stop a high-powered offense is to keep them off the field. Okay, that's the simple part of it. But the reason why I like that angle is because the less times you give those Saints the ball, the less chances they have to find their rhythm, the more chance the Buccaneers offense has to find their rhythm, and they're going to find their rhythm. You're going to see Tom Brady stepping up. He's getting into playoff form. You're going to see Antonio Brown today. You're going to see Gronkowski. You're going to see Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. You're going to see Cam Brate. You're going to see a rushing game. You're going to see offensive linemen getting downfield to the next level, opening up holes, and I'd like to see all that happening. And again, we've got to secure that playoff spot. but to get into playoff form. Because as you're going up against these better teams, you're going to see the Rams again, or you might see the Washington Redskins with that the defensive line. I mean, just incredible. Chase Young, they've got like four number one picks, four first-round picks on that defensive line, and you see that's the reason why they – and I'm going to go ahead and I said I wouldn't do it. I'm going to have to call it the NFC least because we thought it was going to be the Vikings. Then we thought the Eagles for a cup of coffee were going to have a chance, and now it looks like the Washington football team is now in control of that division, looking for that fourth seed or that winning that division, getting themselves into the playoffs with a 5-8 or a 5 or whatever record it's going to be. But you need to see the Buccaneers get that ball control offense with the rushing, with the passing, and allow their defense to get time between the offensive plays so they can go back to the sidelines, work on their strategies, and come back out with a game plan. If your offense is going 3 and out, on average, that defense not only doesn't have a chance to get to the sideline and look at all those surfaces with the coaches and figure out the next defensive strategy to go against that offense, but they're also winded. They're getting tired. You're not giving them a good fighting chance to go against the New Orleans Saints or to go against a Green Bay Packers team again. You could like to see that game. Just because we handled them the first time, the same way we're talking about the Bucs have a shot at beating the Saints when they play them a third time, those Green Bay Packers are not going to take the Bucs lightly either. If that's the road to the championship, to get the Bucs to Super Bowl 55 over Raymond James Stadium, it may go through Green Bay on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, and you're going to need a ball control offense and a rushing game. Let me go back to my comments here. Frederick Brown says, and don't think it's too cold to shower. Definitely not too cold. It was cool this morning, but the sun is beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why we love it down here at the Duck Bar and Grill. And talking about the sun in the Sunshine State, once again, a shout out to 320 Solar, the sponsors of Cup of Ray and sponsors here at Bucs Report. 320 Solar, power up and gain that energy independence. And when you got a day like this, when you've got the cool weather and the heaters are running, or you got the space heaters and you got everything running at the house, you've had Christmas lights, all the decorations, everybody's home, the kids are home from school, the kids are out of school, everybody running all these appliances. Gain that energy independence with solar power and take yourself not so much completely off the grid, but take yourself from being completely relying on that increasing rates that the Florida State Legislature has already approved for 2021. Electricity is just going to continue to get more and more expensive. But when you get that solar power, you talk to the people at 320 Solar, you gain that energy independence and you start taking control of your own house. Christopher Cole steps in here with, I need a win for my late birthday present. Christopher Cole, happy birthday yesterday. I know I had a chance to reach out to you on Facebook. Didn't get a chance to talk to you. Celebrating your birthday on the same date of Christ, on the celebration of Christmas. What a great thing. Should have known that. Should have saw that coming. Good old friend of mine from high school is also a minister. Tim Marshak was also celebrating a birthday yesterday. Happy belated to you guys. And let's get that Buccaneer victory against Detroit Lions today. Get into that playoff wild card, secure those playoffs for the first time in a dozen years, and we'll call that a Christopher Cole present. Frederick Brown says, who's inactive for the game? We're going to cover that on a pregame show, which will be coming up to you on 11. We got Blake Anthony, Peter Blake, myself, Harry the Greek's going to be down here. We're going to cover the inactives. We're going to cover the angles. We're going to look at some breakdowns. Of course, with Blake Anthony from Sports Talk 29, you get those breakdowns. So join us for that pregame show, and we'll cover all those questions for you, Frederick. Frederick also says, Leonard has his chance to show out if Rojo's out. Yeah, definitely. And you got to see that Leonard Fournette getting that offense going, getting that run going to support that pass, and getting yourself into playoff, starting to get yourself into playoff, train the muscles. Because, not only the Buccaneers usually, and I wrote an article, I'm not sure if it'll publish today or not, but it's basically an article on the Christmas present the Bucs are giving us this year. And that is that all of us when was the last time any of y'all did not get Buccaneer merch on Christmas, right? And we love it. Even if it's a second shirt that you own, you have a copy of the same shirt, but you got another, now you got two of the same shirts, but you always have that merch. And of course you wear that Buccaneer merch year round, but this year, all that playoff merch, and I had some Bucs merch under the Christmas tree, actually quite a bit. All that becomes playoff attire. All we have to do is get that victory today in Detroit against those Detroit Lions. But definitely Rojo has a chance to show out. So does Shady McCoy with the blocking and on third down. And also we got that rookie getting in there, getting some time at running back. Frederick Brown says Leonard has his chance to show out today if Rojo's out. Definitely. Just covered that. And let me scoot down in the comments here. Jeremiah says, would not mind seeing Vaughn at all. Again, continue to get that running game going. Continue to get into playoff shape. You're going to need it coming up here. Jeremiah also says, do we expect Barner to make a big play on special teams? We expect everyone to start showing up And we're talking about training those muscles, of course. Buccaneer fans, you've got to train for the fact, leave those Christmas platters out. Leave those lights up. Heck, leave that tree up. That tree may become a Gasparilla tree after celebrating a long run in the playoffs for the Bucs in 2020. Christmas has passed, at least over the last dozen years. Usually the day after Christmas, the week after Christmas, you're starting to take all the Christmas stuff down. You're getting a little winded down. The holidays, especially in 2020, it hasn't been so much to traveling and all the family, and everything's been a little bit more distanced. Again, reach out to someone, let them know you're still caring and loving them and thinking about them. But we got to get trained because, we've got January football coming, and it's important January football. So fantastic stuff. Get that victory in Detroit today, and we'll see players like Barnes showing out. Michael Rick says, who's starting in place of 24? I've got to believe it's Leonard Fournette, but again, we're going to cover that on the pregame show. So let me go ahead and remove these comments off of here. Oh, I got one more comment here. Brandon Dickey says, we would love to see a complete game before the playoff. Bucs life. I'm glad you bring that up. I'm going to go ahead and follow that right up there with that's what the Buccaneers need to do. We've seen glimpses of it this year against the Green Bay Packers. We've seen against the Chargers when they came back in the second half at Raymond James earlier this season. We've seen those Buccaneers start to round into form, start to put probably a complete game, I would say, would be against those Green Bay Packers. But even then, we kind of still let Rodgers get off a little bit. He's doing his little celebration in the end zone, but the Buccaneers start to put it all together, and that's probably been one of their most, if not their most complete game, and even that game wasn't a complete whistle-to-whistle game. So, yeah, you definitely need to see the team starting to put it all together because just getting to the dance is nice. Let's be happy about that. Again, got to get that victory today. The team that's really, got the Bears back there at 7-6, I believe they are. And so they're 2 games behind the Bucs. And they're 2 games behind the Cardinals, who are basically, believe it or not, still in contention to possibly win the West, mathematically speaking. But you still have a team that can put you out. So, again, we're not there yet. This team's not there yet. This team still has to get that big victory today. But let's go ahead and take care of that victory today against Detroit, against an old divisional foe when we were in the NFC North division, the black and blue division, to complete that 4 games we played against the old NFC, which is now the NFC North, but used to be the NFC Central. Complete that series, get through it, get that victory, and secure our spot in the playoffs. Let's see. Yep, Brandon just said that. Let's see here. Misador says, let's go. Yes, Misador, let's go and definitely get a complete game today. So, just had something here I wanted to cover, if you don't mind, make sure I'm not missing any extra messages here. But yeah, as far as, I just wanted to cover this, the fact that looking today at playoff scenarios, it's not going to come down for the Bucs. But then I started to wonder, and I'm starting to wonder, when does a coin flip? Because, a coin flip is literally, there's like 73 other tiebreakers for teams. If you get a team that has the same record in a division or teams have the same record to be able to get into the playoffs. So first you start off with your conference record, then or your division record, then your conference record. Then you have strength of schedule, common opponents. Then you have strength of schedule against just your how your strength of schedule worked out. But when you get all the way down to brass tacks, you got that coin flip. And that was basically Tex Schramm and Art Rooney back in the day when Pete Rozelle goes to him when they first. And actually, it was when when the New Orleans Saints were added to the NFL, and they added 4 divisions, and they said, look, we've got to have a way just to come up, and they started developing all these tiebreakers. So if it comes down to division play, strength of schedule, common opponents, and then basically it all comes down to a coin flip if everything else is equal. But mathematically speaking, it's literally, and it's never come down to a coin flip. It's in the rule book. It's never actually come down to that. But for the Cup of Ray purposes here on a Sunday morning, and because we're talking old school, because the Detroit Lions were an old division, and it takes us back a little bit. Of course, we played that first season in the AFC West just till they got things spread out, and then we ended up coming to the NFC Central with the Lions, Bears, and Packers, and Vikings. But the Buccaneers have had a coin flip, a very important coin flip, probably the most important coin flip in the history of the team. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to see if anybody comments on it, because I'll bet you someone like the professor out there, Johnny Dean, if you're tuning in, you may remember this coin flip. It goes back a little ways, and that's why I throw JD in there, because it's going to be an old school Buccaneer question it's going to get the answers for. Let's see here. I got another comment. Yeah, here we go. I'm sorry. I lost track of them a little bit. So Mike Rick says we need to start fast. Definitely need to start fast right out of the gates, but we need to see that consistency again. We need to see them established. We don't need 3 and outs. course, you always see it a lot of times, not always, but maybe 65, 70% of the time with any given NFL team, except for when you go back to the day with that West Coast style offense and you had the 49ers running it out there. They seemed like Mike Holmgren, the offensive coordinator, working under Bill Walsh, but they would come out and they would just methodically drive down the field. Not so much dink and dunk, but they would find guys. They would have they would find Jerry Rice, and you would find different players. They would move the ball. But on average, a lot of times you'll see teams go 3 and out. Not a lot, but more often than not, because they're still feeling each other out, right? Because these are NFL teams. The other team's defense has had all week to develop a strategy against what they believe the offensive strategy is going to be. And then, of course, the Buccaneers, their offense, they're developing a strategy for what they think the Detroit Lions are going to do for them. So sometimes that first 1 or 2 drives is 3 and out. The problem with the Buccaneers more often than not in 2020 is that too many of those drives have been 3 and outs and or quick outs, low third down efficiency. These are the things that we need to see. So when you talk about starting fast, I just want to see it. Let's just make that first down. Then let's make that second first down. Let's get that first drive. I mean, even a successful field goal, you drive down a field, you get that field goal, you'd like to see a touchdown, but you put the points on the board. Your defense is now ready to come out and take on that offense, the Detroit Lions. And again, Matt Stafford, he's had 3 big games. Of course, in the first 12 games of the year, he literally had 3 games where he was near 100% in quarterback completion percentage. But the last 3, he's been over 100. And now that you've got the wide receivers coach, Price, I believe is his name, will be filling in for the interim coach, Bevel, who's in the COVID protocol. So you know that he's going to want to open up that offense. And Detroit really doesn't have much to lose, right? So they're going to be looking to run and gun it today. So that Buccaneers defense, especially the secondary, is going to have to make sure they cover all their marks, make sure they get to their places. But you're going to need that Buccaneer defensive line up front, putting the pressure and making it a hard day for Stafford. You get him dancing. Stafford's still a gamer. He's still going to be throwing it around. I mean, this kid just throws it in. It reminds me of like a Chris Sims back in the day when he burst his spleen because he was playing so hard. But Stafford's a player. He's a gunner. He's going to want to be out there, and he's probably looking to put a lot of that responsibility of the team on his shoulders today, being the franchise quarterback and the leader of that Detroit Lions offense. And with the team's coaching in disarray this week and the COVID protocol and such, you got that wide receivers coaches. Now, they've actually got a director of player personnel who's filling in as a linebackers coach. I mean, so we might say, oh, well, it's coaching and these are professionals and they've been working all season, but they've got this thing going on today with this protocol where they got people filling in, which so for the Buccaneers, it kind of makes it more like a wild card. And we can use that, right? Because today being the game, the victory, the Buccaneers need to get that wild card, but it is a wild card because you're not exactly sure what the Detroit Lions offense is going to throw at you today. They probably may come out and try to pound that rock because they figured the Bucs are going to be looking for Stafford to get off early because he's had those last 3 games over 100%. They come out and pound the rock. Bucs defense has to be ready. But as far as that fast start goes, get those first downs. That defense, the Buccaneers defense, Todd Bowles, get those boys out on the field. Get Detroit 3 and out. Just get them off the field. Start to see that consistency. You're not, would I like to see a shutout? Sure. Let's say Buccaneers 35-0. Shut out the Detroit Lions as we get that playoff berth and we secure that wild card victory. But so you talk about a wild card, you're not exactly sure what to expect. So anything's on the table for the Detroit Lions today. And that's why the Buccaneers defense is going to have to do their due diligence in covering every angle because really, Matt Patricia, defensive-minded coach, gets fired earlier this season. You got Bevel filling in as the interim coach. Now he's out today. Now you got the wide receivers coach. Kind of reminds me back in the day when the Buccaneers, they go from John McKay to Ray Perkins and then Richard Williamson from Lehman Bennett to Ray Perkins. And you got Richard Williamson was a wide receivers coach on the Buccaneers team when Perkins leaves and he takes over. We didn't have much success there, but I remember back as a Bucs fan, you're like, oh, everything's on the table now. Richard Williamson's taking over, and he was the wide receivers coach. So they're going to figure out a way to get a passing game going. Didn't quite work out that way. But, again, with the Lions today, the Buccaneers are a better team, top to bottom, as far as, player to player. And the Buccaneers are looking at that wild card. The Detroit Lions don't have much to play for other than to try to spoil the Buccaneers party for a week to make them want to have to get that victory next week against the Atlanta Falcons. But the Buccaneers go into Detroit, get a complete game. And no matter the score, just get that complete game, get that victory, secure that wild card spot. Frederick Brown says, I hope you got some Buck attire under that hoodie. Actually, it's a sweater, but I always got Bucks attire. We're going to wear it. But here's what happened now. If you guys remember, the last watch party I was here for out here, I had that purple bandana on against those Vikings, and we get that victory, right? So I'm saying that I said I'm going to wear some kind of team color for the rest of the season, and so I'm wearing blue today. Of course, the Detroit blue. I'm not going to wear that powder blue. I'm not going to wear that cool color that looks almost a little bit more solid with the silver than like the Carolina Panthers in their blue. But I got a little blue on today. But we're always rocking it. Got the Bucks flags flying. Going to let our freak flag Bucks fly. Freak Bucks flag fly, but definitely have that Bucks attire. Join us for the pregame show and the halftime, and I'll get a little bit of that color going on. Misador says Ray is at the 07 draft coin. Is that the 07 draft coin toss you're talking about? No, me, but that was a good one because there's been other ones, right? The Buccaneers have a coin toss. Just what year was it? Was it the 07? Was that the coin toss where we were going and Minnesota ends up, we had the same schedule. Was it the Cleveland Browns? They end up winning a toss, so we end up going fourth and they go third. Or was it Minnesota? But yeah, that's definitely close. I'll get to that in a second. Johnny Dean says Saints showed their run game yesterday. And again, we knew they have a run game. Of course, the Buccaneers are usually able to shut that down or keep that run game in check because they have that great defense against the run. But just watching that game yesterday, again, it just reaffirms my point and position, as I'm sure you all agree. The way to beat the Detroit or the way to beat the New Orleans Saints when you see them again is to control the tempo, for the Buccaneers to control the tempo of that game. And the way to control the tempo of that game is to get that running game established, to keep them off balance, to get those first downs. Because I have no doubt that even if you gave Drew Brees 6 drives the entire game, and there's going to be more than that. On average, there's maybe 16 drives. But even if you gave Drew Brees 6 drives, you give Sean Payton and Drew Brees those 6 drives, they're going to have success. They're going to be moving that ball up and down the field. But when you control the ball, when you control the tempo, and especially if you get that lead and you get a good lead, now you take them off of their control. You take them out of their comfort zone and you limit the amount of times they can experiment with passes to see if we got a little softness in the secondary or if the linebackers are playing a little slow today or if the defensive rush isn't there. You give them opportunities to continue to experiment. So when I say ball control, again, it's not so much just to see the team. You want to see the team just score and just blow it up, but you're controlling the tempo against the New Orleans Saints because that is how you get an offensive juggernaut. And after seeing Kamara score 6 touchdowns yesterday, and let me wander off that for a second. I didn't think that Kamara would get back in there and get that 6th attempt. Of course, we saw the Saints. They have it 1st and goal. And Kamara stays on the sidelines. They don't put him in there to score that touchdown. But then you have the Vikings come back out there, and Kirk Cousins marches them right down the field, and they're trying to get in it. And they didn't have a snowball's chance in Florida on December 26th of getting that victory. For a half a second, if you were a Vikings fan, you were probably on your knees praying to St. Anthony, of course, the saint of lost causes, because you're thinking maybe we can do onside kick. But the Vikings march right down the field. And then, of course, the Saints go down. They get that 1st and goal, and they get Kamara back in there, and he gets the record. I didn't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with most things that these players are doing. And the Saints are a divisional foe. And we're going to see Kamara again. Hopefully we're going to see Kamara again. And we're going to want to shut him down again. Of course, he wasn't so healthy last year when the Saints make the quick exit in the playoffs. So and they've got Michael Thomas resting now, right? And of course, Drew Brees missed those 5 weeks. With the rib injuries, but you give that Saints team a chance to heal. They're going to be firing on all cylinders coming to playoffs. And here's the thing I wondered, and I inquired about this with some guys today, but really wasn't able to do the math myself. I'm going to try to do the math for the pregame show. And that is, of course, the Packers are right there, number 1. They're a half a game in front of the Saints. The Packers, of course, today play the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't expect them to get much of a game from them, but we'll see. Of course, any team on any given day, right? But if all things being equal, it goes into next week, and the Packers and the Vikings, or the Packers and the Saints are right there, I have to look at the strength of schedule because I believe, and don't quote me on this, maybe some of you guys at home will do the math and then call in on a pregame show or message here. I believe that, let me just get this off of here. Sorry, guys. I believe that even if the Packers and the Saints finish tied, the Packers have a stronger conference and strength of schedule, that they still would secure that number 1 spot. So the Saints would actually need the Packers to lose today and or next week, and the Saints would have to get that victory next week against the Carolina Panthers and get them by record. So that remains to be seen, but we're going to have to see that. But anyway, going back again to those Saints, we're talking about facing that team and if you can limit the amount of opportunities that their offense has to experiment against your defense, number one, it means your offense is having more success. So it means we're putting out more points and moving the ball down the field, continuing to tire their defense out, as opposed to those 2 games we've played the Saints so far this season, where they were basically obliterating our defense, and our offense was doing them a favor by going 3 and out and putting our defense right back out there. It literally felt like they were leading them to the firing squad. I used the term the defense was going to sue the offense for a lack of support, but now that's what you need to see from your Buccaneers today in Detroit. And then next week against the Atlanta Falcons. Not just happy to have gotten that or to be getting that or hopefully get that wild card spot secured today, but to see the Buccaneers offense continuing to get the consistency and the running game and the passing game working together and allowing the defense to get rested and then do their analyzation on the sidelines and then come in a full brute force frontal attack against that Detroit Lions offense and then have that success. That's the team that the Buccaneer fans need to see showing up in weeks 15 and 16, or I guess it's weeks 16 and 17 this year against the Lions and the Falcons. Not just happy to have made it and to hopefully get off that 12-year schneid making the playoffs as a wild card berth, but going into the playoffs, playing like the team that this team has the talent that they're capable to play like. The position players, the offensive line showing its depth, having some issues this year, but moving Marpet and then getting Jensen, having a little bit more flexibility on the offensive line, maybe not looking at it so much as a weakness, but maybe as a positive because we know we've got a little bit of flexibility there. We need to see the special teams continue. We need to see of course, you need to see Ryan Succop, right? He's at 117 points, and 131 is the Buccaneer all-time record for points. Gets 14 points in the next 2 weeks. Ryan Succop becomes the Buccaneer all-time point leader. And I believe that's Martin Matica that he would, or is it Matt Bryant? But anyway, need to see special teams. Need to see Bradley Pinion pinning them down inside the 10-yard line. You're going to need all facets of the game firing on all cylinders as you hit the playoffs and you look to have success in 2020. Let's see. Andrew Faubert says, also, hi, Ray. Big Board wants that playoffs, baby. Big Board, you got it, baby. And, and of course, Andrew, our big board guy here at Bucs Report, he lives there in the Great White North. It's probably like 25 below, and he's loving it. He's complaining about it's not cold enough this year. Misador says, Johnny Dean, they had to run. Breeze was dragging his body up and down the field. He was hurting. Yeah, I mean, you still saw Breeze look like he was a little tender. But, of course, then you got Taysom Hill. And you got Taysom coming in here. And, more power to him. I mean, I guess the reason why you're paying this guy $16 million over 2 years is because of the fact that he's not just a Swiss Army knife of a player, but he shows that he's able to come in here. And Taysom Hill, they made the point yesterday in that game. If Drew Brees wasn't back from the injury, you wonder if Taysom, who's running the ball on a quarterback keeper, on RPO, if you will, lowers that right shoulder to take it because Taysom Hill wants to hit almost as bad as the defense wants to hit him. So he takes the hit to the defense. But you wonder if he'd be lowering that right shoulder, that throwing shoulder, and throwing it in there if he didn't have a healthy Drew Brees, and still not knowing exactly what the Saints feel about with their – they say he's second string now because Drew Brees is out. But Jameis Winston, I think he has as much chance of seeing the field unless you get an injury to Taysom Hill or you need Taysom effectively in another position and Drew Brees is out for some. But let's not even go there. Because we still think if Jameis gets in there with the very vanilla Saints offense and the tools they have, not against your Buccaneers, but against most of the teams in the NFL, I think the Saints will still march the ball up and down the field or at least have success on the offensive side. So that remains to be seen as we go into the playoffs as well, the quarterback depth there. Christopher Cole says, anyone think that Brees looks awful? He had that great throw yesterday. I mean, that offense, that Sean Payton offense, it's still going to pull defenders out of their position, and you got a tight end running down the field, and Drew Brees just lays the perfect spiral up and gets a 15, 20, 25-yard completion in that player. Again, it's because they're out there on the field so much that offense is able to find their rhythm. To beat the Saints, you have to keep their offense off the field, keep your defense out there, putting them 3 and out, and you need to have ball control offense, whether you're the Buccaneers, Detroit Lions, yesterday the Vikings, if they'd have had more ball control, if Dalvin Cook could have got off, if they would have been able to. Of course, the Vikings just looked, they come back and they score, right? They're down 7, then they scored, they're down 14-7, and the game really was never in question from what I saw. I missed a little bit of the third quarter because I was doing that Zoom meeting with the kids and my family in North Carolina and with the family down here, but from what I saw, that game was never in question. But then again, from what I saw, Minnesota Vikings did not have a ball control offense. Of course, it's the reason why the Bucs were able to beat them because the Bucs didn't let them get that ball control offense. The way to stop a good offense is to control the ball yourselves and not give that and limit the amount of opportunities or chances the other team's offense has to find that success. Johnny Dean says 14 degrees here in Pittsburgh today, -2 wind chill. Wow. See, I've actually got the sweater on out here, and I'm perfectly comfortable. No sweat, no cold, but the sun is shining beautifully. I'm going to be out here for today's pregame show, halftime, and postgame show. We're going to also have our shot inside. We're going to be bringing it all to you. So make sure you join us again at 11 o'clock, powered by 320 Solar, your Buccaneer game day. Bucs Report has you covered from sun up to sundown, and we'll be here through sundown, hopefully covering that victory in which the Buccaneers secure that playoff spot. First time in 12 years. Jeremiah says safeties need to help our... Excuse me 1 second. This is so impolite, but let me just get a little water. Safeties need to help. Jeremiah says safeties need to help our corners today. Need to maintain possession of the ball. Drain clock. Definitely. And let's go ahead and say it, Jeremiah. You make the point that the cornerbacks, the safeties need to help the corners because they're going to need to help them because Stafford is going to be looking to fling the biscuit a little bit himself. But we have to see the pressure up front. We've still got to see Shaq getting that quarterback pressure. Maybe a sack. Devin White, maybe come out with a couple of sacks. Let's have a 3-sack game again and get Defensive Player of the Week again this week. But we got to see that up front, that front seven, continuing to put pressure in the Detroit Lion backfield. And that'll also help the corners and the safeties in trying to stop that Detroit passing game. Misador says, the only team I'm worried about facing today is Detroit. 100%. Again, Buccaneers, after the primetime games, they start in week 1 against the New Orleans Saints. It's Brady versus Breeze, 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, first ballots. And the Bucs have the primetime games against all the primetime games we have this year, the Monday nighter games, the Monday night games, the Sunday night games, the Thursday night games. And the NFL gave us a little bit of a biscuit here, day after Christmas, on a Saturday, first day of Kwanzaa, the only game in town, the only NFL game on today at 1 o'clock, the Bucs versus the Detroit Lions. So it's a nationally televised game. All eyes are on the Bucs. And I'm not going to follow some narrative that says, oh, the Bucs are saving it or hiding it and waiting to be able to bring it out for the play. We need to see that complete game play. We need to see that start from whistle to whistle. We need to see that complete Buccaneers team show up today to know that not only are we knocking on the door to get into the dance, but when we get to the dance, we're going to break dance. We're going to get a little dancing going on here. Christopher Cole says, Saints gave up 33 points to the Vikings. Again, yeah, they did. I mean, the Vikings were finding some weaknesses in that Saints defense, but I would counter the fact that the game was really never in question. So I'm sure that the Saints would want to see a shutout. They probably wanted to drive the Vikings into the ground as they lock up the NFC South yesterday with that victory. But because the Saints offense was moving the ball up and down so fast, they were allowing the Vikings to get back out there. And that's another problem I've had with the risk it, no biscuit offense is that, hey, I get it. If you're dropping dimes all day and scoring touchdowns, that's great. But guys, don't remember, if it gets into a close battle, if the Buccaneers go out and score 7-7, 3-7-7 on 3, 4, 6, 5 plays, continuing to move down the field, and the other team's offense is finding some success against the Buccaneers defense, when it comes down, I'm going to use the term again, when it gets down to brass tacks toward the end of the game, late in the fourth quarter, you've basically got the other team's defense has only been out there so much because the Bucs are scoring at whim, quick. But the Buccaneers defense has been out there and they're huffing a little bit, right? So they're a little tired because even though they're keeping us in the game, maybe it's tied or it's within one score, which most coaches tell you these days, the NFL, you play to keep it with a one-score game or to have that small lead in the fourth quarter. I don't get that. I say you just try to ball out from the very get-go, get the biggest leads you can have and just cruise. Forget the prevent defense stuff. Just cruise and stay pressing. But if your defense is out there because our offense is scoring too quick, I've seen it, guys, and I know you guys and girls, you've seen it. Teams that have offenses that just score too quick, their defenses end up getting tired and winded toward the end of the game as well. So I know we bought into it when we bring Arians in as a coach. I know we bought into it with the no risk it, no biscuit philosophy. But then we get Tom Brady here in 2020, and you start to go, oh, ball control, dink and dunk, read the defense, play action pass. And that wasn't there. It's not been there most of the time this season. But that's why we're looking so much for it to kind of start rounding up into form now toward the playoffs, because you want to see your offense control the ball. And, of course, you want to see them constantly score, but you want to see a nice, even flow game. Give the defense time on the sidelines. Give the offense time to regroup. Give the defense time to work on their strategies and just back and forth. And then in between, when neither one of them are on there, again, that special teams go out there and nail the field goals. Get the nice punts. Cover them things. Have nice punt returns. Punt return for a touchdown today. The Buccaneers, they're at Detroit. I'm just calling it right now. Let's see here. Khalif says, let's get it. Definitely. Johnny Dean says, will the Bucks win today, then rest their starters against the Birds? Yeah, Johnny, I'm not sure. I guess so. I mean, I guess it's going to depend on who you're looking at in seeding. As far as, are we looking at the Rams, or are we looking at Washington, going to Washington, having to play the first week of the playoffs? If that game means a difference, I mean, you want to see some of your starters rest. You want to see Blaine Gabbert get out there. Love to have saw Josh Rosen get off his practice squad, but he's now a 49er. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I made that call. Not that it was a hard call to make, but the California kid grew up in California, 5-chip athlete coming out of high school, goes to UCLA, gets a bad deal there in Arizona. They draft him in the first with a disarray of a team they had and a coaching staff, which was nowhere to be found. Cliff Kingsbury comes in there. Of course, he gets Kyler Murray. Then he goes to Miami, and of course, they were in the same position first year under Torres, and so. Torres. And so they tank for Tua, and then Josh comes here on the practice squad. Now he's with the 49ers. Of course, he's backing up CJ Beathard, Bobby Beathard's grandson. And, like to see this kid. I've seen him do a little bit, and he's got a little bit of a game going. But, of course, now you got Josh Rosen backing him up there. Look for Josh Rosen to develop under Mike Shanahan or Kyle Shanahan, and Josh Rosen will still make a name for himself in this league. I'm just making a call right there. Misador says, Bucks by 17 today. Definitely me. You know what? And let's see, Christopher Cole says, don't let Detroit hang around today. Definitely. Get that complete game going. Get the solid play. Control the ball. Don't let them hang, because we've seen it too many times this season. The Bucks because these teams go in here and like, oh, we're going against Hall of Famer Tom Brady. And, they got Antonio Bryant and they got Antonio Brown. And they've got, two Pro Bowl receivers in Evans and Godwin. And we're still in this thing. It's the third or fourth quarter, and we still got a shot at this. And you're giving those guys, you're giving them a little momentum, because you're letting them say, we hung in there. We took the Bucks' best punch. Although I think most of you would agree, in most cases, the Bucks never really threw that first best punch. A few times this season, but not on a consistent basis. Bucks need to go out there, throw that big first punch. Don't throw the haymaker, because you want to keep the guard in just in case they jab back. But get out there, hit them fast, hit them hard, and play consistent. Get up and then cruise, because the Bucks need to build that momentum and continue to work on a few things and tweak a few offensive plays and philosophies as we get to the playoffs to have success at the next level and in the postseason dance. Johnny Dean says game prediction. Bucks 35-17. I think I've made that twice this year. Of course, I said Bucks 35-0 in the shutout, but I like the Bucks to score 35 today. Could they score more? Yeah. Could they score more against this Detroit Lions defense or this team that's in a bit of disarray, and especially with the coaching staff and the problems they've had this week? Yeah, I mean, the Bucks have a team on paper that should be able to score consistently 40 points a game, depending on who they're playing. I like a nice 35-17. I think the Lions will have a little bit of success throwing everything. They're going to throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and just see what sticks today, right? That the receivers coach working as the head coach, maybe positioning himself for either a job in the new regime when they go to hire a new staff this next year. I'm not sure. I don't follow the Detroit Lions close enough, but he might himself be a candidate for that head coaching position if he tries to get his team to show up today. Bucks don't want to let that happen. Bucks come out strong, stay steady, get that ball control going, and win 35-17. Khalif says, hope the secondary comes to play. Love to see that. Love to see Winfield get off today. Again, it's another NFC Central division. Of course, his dad's senior, Tweez. Of course, Winfield Jr. being Tweez Jr. or Little Tweez. He played for the Vikings, so Little Tweez grew up following the Central Division a lot because his dad played for the Minnesota Vikings. Love to see Winfield get off today. Love to see the rest of the secondary. But again, it starts up front with that front seven, and especially the linebackers, especially today. Well, whether it's Shaquille getting the pressure from one side, or Levante and Devin, who a lot of people feel were snubbed this week for the Pro Bowl. And I think the Bucks got a lot of publicity early on. I mean, the Bucks owned the offseason as far as, the news and signing Tom and Gronk and this and, everything. And then they came out and at 9-5, I mean, I can't believe at 9-5, people are still saying, well, they played flat. They're 9-5, looking to go 10-5 today. But I think there were a lot of expectations that didn't get fulfilled. So I think as a result of that, maybe people weren't looking at the defensive side of the ball. But you're talking about Levante David and Devin White, just phenomenal interior linebackers. Reminds me of, someone said Gooch, but reminds me of Shelton Quarles and double nickel back in the day, Derek Brooks. Of course, you had that Warren Sapp up front, Hall of Famer in the defensive tackle position, applying pressure. But if it wasn't for him applying the pressure and those linebackers flying the way they did, doesn't allow the Buccaneers to successfully play the Tampa 2, which, of course, took them to Super Bowl 37 and a victory. And they got a Lombardi in a case over there at One Buck Place, the Advent Health Training Facility. Call it One Buck Place. trying to get a second Lombardi Trophy in 2020, with Super Bowl 55 being a home game right there at Raymond James Stadium across the street. Of course, you win a Lombardi Trophy in 55, and you've only got to walk it about 35 yards across the street to the facility and put it in a trophy case next to the first one. Wouldn't that be a nice Christmas wish Bucks fans? Johnny Dean says, I would love to see a shutout. Love to see that. That means, again, that offense is playing ball control, limiting the amount of times the Detroit Lions have the ball. The defense is showing out, getting into form, getting some of that consistency and getting some adrenaline for the playoffs. Because this team knows. They know what they're capable of. They just need to be allowed to do it so that they can actually apply it in principle. They know it. On paper, they see what they have. They just need to see all the pieces need to come together and play nice with each other so they can get that push. I got somebody in the waiting room here. Let me just throw this out. Bucks Report predicts 34-17 Buccaneers. I said 35-17, but definitely good stuff. I'm going to go ahead and bring this guy on right here because we have 3 games today. And if we have 3 NFL games, we got to know the lines on them. We got to know who to expect. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome to the show this morning, Mr. Harry the Greek. Hey, good morning, Harry. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning. It's nice chilly weather in Tampa Bay.
It's hot. I mean, I'm right now. I swear to gosh, if I was off the air, I'd take the sweater off. I put some suntan oil on. I sit right here. The wind is blocked from the north. It's like the most beautiful day of the year down here, but you get around the building there, it is a little bit cool. How was your Christmas, my friend?
Christmas was awesome. Absolutely awesome. I had my mother over at the house. We had good old Greek food. And, the wife had a really good time. And we watched a really good football game yesterday, which, by the way, I went over like I said it was, and that was really good for me. But
I would have liked. What was the Saints' final score? Saints scored 50, right?
I think the Saints made it go over by themselves.
I know. I was going to say, and of course, the prognosticators on the air, they said, the game was Alvin Kamara 36. The Vikings 35, but you go into the game in 2020, Harry. You just don't know because and I know you bang that drum all week with the over on this game, but you start to go, which team shows up? Is it Drew Brees going to get on the mark today? You don't know. Kamara scores 6 touchdowns, but you know that Saints are capable. But that was definitely a solid call. You bet the over on a game yesterday. You put a little buck in your pocket, didn't you?
Yeah, we won quite a bit of money in yesterday's game. I'll tell you what, that's what we call a rocking chair game.
Yeah, rocking chair.
By the end of the third quarter, the game was over. And I was like, just sit back and relax.
Stick the hands in the pot. Stick the hands in the pan.
I was rooting for Minnesota to come back. I was rooting for Minnesota to come back and win somehow. But that narrative is dead. I said it was dead 2 weeks ago, but everybody had me convinced they had a chance to win a division. And I'm like, well, Minnesota can play. That didn't happen. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Did you see what Mike Zimmer says? This is the worst defense I've ever coached. I mean, he is so, and he lets those defensive backs go this offseason, depending on that nose tackle they signed from the Baltimore Ravens who opted out for COVID. But, he has the injury to Barr, and I don't know if Kendricks played yesterday, but yeah, Zimmer, who's known for putting that defense together, they had a solid defense in the last couple of years. Yesterday says this is the worst defense I've ever coached.
You know what? And I don't blame him, but the majority of that is his fault. Because he let these players go. They didn't want to sign them. I think they lost like 5 to 7 people in free agency.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that to a defense that is almost Super Bowl ready with that offense and the running game. And they had a pretty stout defense last year, including the year before. They were just going to do nothing but get better. But you know what? The ownership of the Minnesota Vikings, they've got a lot of money tied up on the offensive side of the ball, and they just didn't want to spend that money on the defensive side of the ball. Well, that's what you get for not spending the money, because now you get to sit home during the playoffs.
Well, they let Pro Bowlers go. They let Pro Bowlers go off that secondary, and they signed that nose tackle trying to get that defensive push. And, I get it. Teams want to continue to try to rebuild or reload and not rebuild, but they end up losing that secondary. And with the opt-out and the injuries, they may not have to I want to say completely rebuild, but I definitely think the narrative they were looking at trying to make the swifting adjustment, on the fly here, they still end up, coming close in the NFC North this year. But the Packers, of course, have that secured up. But Harry, let me ask you this: there are 3 games today. Let's cover the Bucs-Lions game last. Tell me the other 2 games and tell me some of the lines you're looking at.
Well, I'll tell you what. I gave it out earlier in the week. I told everybody to jump on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at -7 and 7.5. But I said if you didn't jump on it too quickly, that line was going to go to 8 or 9. Some sites in Vegas now have this game at -10. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. The play is still the over in this game. It's going to be a very high-scoring affair. And Tampa has given me absolutely no reason to believe that they're going to come out of the gate strong. They're going to have this awesome, miraculous come-to-Jesus meeting. You have to show me first. I never bet against trends, Ray. You've known me for years now.
Yes, sir.
I expect this game to be a little close by halftime, but Tampa Bay walks away with it at the end. But you can't lay 9 or 10 points. They just don't cover that amount of points. They've done it once on the road, and it was against Carolina. What happened against the Rams? What happened against the Giants? I'm not being Debbie Downer. They're supposed to win this game. They're going to the playoffs. They're going to be 10-5, but don't lay the 9 or 10 points. If you do, it's a bad bet. You know what's a really good bet? The over. Bet the over in this game.
How about the other two games? What do you like? What do you see in those two games?
The middle game I'm not too interested in, but the nighttime game is my upset special.
Well, who's in the middle game?
You know what? I didn't even do it again, and I'd be really I'd feel embarrassed if I gave you the wrong game. I'm really sorry.
No, hey, don't be embarrassed because I'm asking you because I don't have a clue. I saw a couple of days ago, but I've been so busy analyzing the Lions matchup today and look at the history of these two teams that I forget which two teams the other two games are playing today.
Well, the 4:00 game, I don't remember who it was. I remember looking at it yesterday. I was putting all my plays back together and trying to finish up my handicapping. Right. And it wasn't enough for me to make a wager, so I don't want to give any wrong information. But the nighttime game was my upset special of the week. The Miami Dolphins are visiting the Raiders. You've got John Gruden coming off a loss. This team is in a must-win situation.
Right.
Miami has a far superior defense, but they're on the road. They're traveling. I think John Gruden's going to come up with a game plan to stop Tua and company on the offense, but I think the Raiders outscore them. The Raiders are getting 3 points. The Raiders are getting 3 to 3.5 points. If you want to play safe, play the Raiders plus the points. I'm not, though. I am betting the Raiders on the money line. I think the Raiders win this game outright.
Okay, and I've got the middle game for you, and this is the reason why I forgot it. I knew it was an NFC West matchup, but it's actually going to be a pretty good game. You've got the 49ers at the Cardinals.
Oh, I know. I got the 49ers at the Cardinals. For rooting purposes, I'm going for the 49ers. I can't touch the game. I cannot touch the game.
Because it's the Niners Super Bowl.
I think that, honestly, I think the Cardinals are so inconsistent, especially offensively. But I'll tell you what San Francisco does really well. Even with their backups, their second and third stringers in there, and I've made these comments all year long, they fly to the football, man. They absolutely fly to the football. They will put a thumping on you. I'm telling you, that is one of the most underrated defenses in the National Football League. Offensively, they're challenged. However, they do have Kittle coming back in this game. And that is one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in football.
Without a doubt.
But how much rust is he going to have on his body? And, how many snaps is he going to get? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I couldn't bet the game. The Arizona Cardinals are a 4.5, 5-point favorite. If I had to go one way, I'd have to play San Francisco because San Francisco always plays really good defense. Yes.
Yeah, but you're talking about Frisco again. They're down to their third-string quarterback in Beathard, and they've also just brought in Josh Rosen, who I believe is active for today's game and is their backup quarterback. But you talk about that defense being a strong point of that San Francisco, and of course they get to the Super Bowl 2 years ago with Garoppolo. And I don't mean to take away too much from Garoppolo, but we know they got there via a strong defense and then a little bit of a running game. So yeah, I like the fact that I wouldn't touch this game either because there's too many uncovered integers, if you will.
Without questions, there's too many question marks in this game. All I know is that San Francisco is going to come out not firing the ball. On the defensive side of it, they are going to try to set the tone. Oh. And the 49ers are going to try to run the football and keep Kyler Murray sitting on the bench. If you feel the need to bet the game, do not lay the points and take Arizona. Mm-hmm. I am not, on the record, playing that game. But if someone backed me into a corner, I'd say you have to take Frisco plus the points because you're going to get 5.5 by game time.
Hey, say back you into a corner. You don't go into a Greek restaurant and sit anywhere but the corner facing the front door. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey, brother. We'll see you out here at the game, at the pregame and the halftime show, and we'll get your Buccaneer game predictions then. All right, my friend?
I can't wait. Buccaneers are going to the playoffs, baby. They are
Woo!
going
Let's
to
get that
the
victory
playoffs.
today.
They're going to be a 10-win team. It's going to be a great day in Tampa Bay with a cup
do
of
it.
Ray. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey. We'll see you later, brother.
See you, brother.
All right, everybody. So just go ahead and recap a couple of things on the show today. The Buccaneers want to get – well, let's go back to our comments. I apologize in case we got a few more. Christopher Cole says, I definitely need some extra cash, Harry. Yeah, Chris, Harry will give you the right straight line. And then Johnny Dean says, Niners, Cards, and Dolphins, Raiders. Thank you, JD, for getting in there. Of course, we got it. Work it back to the most important coin toss. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the coin toss. Working it back to the most important coin toss and bucket. I did it again. Coin toss. That's a Staten Island, New Yorker in me. Buccaneers, Seahawks, 1975. There's a coin toss to determine which team will get the first pick in the expansion draft, and of course, the other team, which team will get the first pick in the college draft. The Seahawks get the first pick in the expansion draft, and to show you how great it was, I'm not sure who they took off the other teams. Of course, it was a different time with the expansion back then. Teams left injured players off. There was nothing like today where you had actual injury reports. The Buccaneers actually struggled those first 2 years because most of the guys that John McKay and them brought in here to build this team were injured, older. But the Buccaneers win that toss because they get the college first overall draft pick. And, of course, you guys know who the Buccaneers take with that first overall draft pick in team history, Leroy Selman. Your boy, Leroy Selman, Hall of Famer, and the Buccaneers' first true defensive star, meant so much to this team early on. But that's why I consider that one of the most – there's been some coin tosses. I said toss in Buccaneers history that the Bucs have won and or lost. But that was definitely, to me, the most important coin toss in Buccaneer history. We bring in Leroy Selman, number 63, who's watching from above, one of the greatest guys in the Tampa Bay area, set the tone, and he set the example for players to be able to be involved in the community, to be able to go beyond the field, get off the gridiron, to become, of course, he goes on and works in, I forget the name of the bank, but he was working as a bank executive. And of course, you guys know he ends up becoming an athletic director at USF and ends up bringing USF football here, such an integral part of USF sports to this day. And all those early beginnings and that foundation, if you will, was laid by Mr. Leroy Selman. So little shout out to Leroy here. That's how I'm going to end Cup of Ray today, with a little throwback thought. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We're going to be live at 11 or a little so thereafter with our pregame show. We'll have our halftime and our postgame show here from the Deck Bar and Grill. Again, thank you for 320 Solar for sponsoring. Remember, power up and gain that energy independence. I hope you all had a great Christmas. And even though I started this show with it, I'm going to end it. Everyone needs to know that somebody cares this holiday season with Zoom, FaceTime, even if it's Messenger or just good old Ma Bell. Reach out and let them know that you're the one who cares. Wishing them happy holidays as we continue to get through 2020 into 2021. And we'll look for a bigger and better year. And, of course, one of the ways to start that off would be the Buccaneers getting that 10th victory today in Detroit, securing that wild card playoff spot, and making the playoffs for the first time in 12 years. Hope you all are having a great day. Enjoy wherever you are. Eat more. Enjoy more. Watch the Bucs game, but do not forget to watch our Bucs game day coverage here from the Deck Bar and Grill at ISSA here on Bucs Report. See you all real soon.